What is going on, all you stylists from the break room? Good morning. What is going on with charcoal lighteners? Why are they making a resurgence? Why are they gaining traction on social medias? And do they work better? And if they do, why do they work better? And if they don't, why do they not work better? And why does John get visitors coincidentally right when we're live?
You know, we've been sitting here for an hour. We've been sitting here for an hour talking, and all of a sudden, I have someone come in and open the door. Charcoal lighteners. Let's talk about lighteners and charcoal lighteners especially. I'm a fan. I'm a fan of lighteners, though. I like lighteners in all shapes, sizes, and forms. And you got to remember, I'm old, so I go all the way back to the old oil-based lighteners. When we used to do scalp bleach like there's no tomorrow. Give me your views on charcoal. We'll start with charcoal. Give me your view on charcoal lighteners, Eddie.
I mean, I love fire and I love barbecue. So charcoal to me is like, it's a no-brainer, you know? It's absolute no-brainer. So I'm all in. I'm all in on this one. That's all I got to say about it. What does charcoal is interesting because growing up, now you got to understand this is in the 80s. I'm talking about in the 80s. So everything goes. And I know the internet right now loves making fun of us, you know, Gen Xers from the 80s. But I had an uncle who was a car mechanic and he would do things in the garage at home on the weekends. You know, he'd teach us how to fix the family vehicles and stuff like that. And he'd be sitting there and he'd have a cigarette in one hand. He'd have a bucket of gasoline between his legs. He'd be sitting on a stool and he'd just be, you know, got the cigarette in his mouth and he'd just be scrubbing and cleaning car parts with gasoline. Okay. And I'd be like, what in the hell? Like every movie I watch, they take the cigarette, they flick it, and everything explodes. And here's my uncle. Yeah, the movie's so funny. Like, he goes, go get me a charcoal from the barbecue. So I'd go get him one of the briquettes. And then he'd start using the charcoal briquette and he'd start rubbing other things with the charcoal briquette. And I'm like, what are you doing? They go, sanitizing. Like sanit? He goes, yeah, gasoline cleans, charcoal sanitize. What? Like that made no sense to me whatsoever. So I'd go inside and I'd be scratching my head and here's my mom. Don't think too hard. You'll burn out whatever's left. You know, my mom used to make fun of me so bad. And I would be explaining to her what I just saw, you know, my uncle do. She'd be like, you know, that's a good idea. Go get me some ashes. I'm like, ashes? Yeah, like, yeah, give me some of the charcoal ashes from the barbecue. And I'd bring it in and she'd freaking do some witchcraft to it in the kitchen and mix in some lemon juice and turn it into a paste. And she'd start wiping things down with it. I'm going, what is happening? Like, what is going on? I'd be like, Ma, what the hell are you doing? She goes, yeah, lemon smells good. The charcoal, you know, it cleans, sanitize. I'm like, what is it with sanitizing? Like, how is charcoal freaking sanitizing? Well, unbeknownst to me, as I get older, I've come to learn it doesn't sanitize. Please don't take and start rubbing yourself with a charcoal freaking briquette. It detoxifies. It doesn't sanitize.
Right.
My family is so freaking foreign. To them, everything was the same thing. Like language did not matter to them. They would mispronounce things or use completely different words for something altogether. And you say, are you trying to say this? Yeah. See, you understand. Like, no. I never understood. Like, that's so wrong. Don't say that. You know, it means something completely different. Point is, charcoal freaking detoxifies as it's removing whatever it is it's removing. And most of the time, it's removing some kind of staining. Now, in the case of hair, instead of saying it's removing staining, it's removing natural pigment from our hair. And it's detoxifying, it's cleansing, and it's removing natural melanin, natural pigment from our hair. And in this case, when you lose natural melanin, your hair lightens, it lifts. And if we're talking about lighteners and highlighting and stuff like that and decolorizing hair, then now we have a very valid point. So that's my long that's my long story of how I understand what charcoal does. Please correct me.
And you know what? And sometimes the old ways become new again, or once again, the old ways actually have some merit to it. Because if you really think about it,
with gasoline and ashes.
yeah. Well, I will bring you over a bucket of gasoline if you're willing to sit with it in your lap.
What could go wrong?
Well, and then I get to put on your tombstone that Eddie was very giving. But if you really think about it, back in the day, if you poisoned yourself, they would give you charcoal to absorb the poison, right?
Oh, really?
Right. And now I'm going to take you back to, remember when you first started in the industry? Remember when you'd walk in the salon and there'd be 2 rows of dryers and there's all the ashtrays back when women used to smoke in the salon?
Yeah.
What did you used to do with those ashtrays?
Oh, I used to use them. Oh, I used to use them as color remover.
Exactly. We would collect the ashes,
for your skin.
put them in a jar, right? We put a little shampoo in there. Because the carbon, which is charcoal, the carbon absorbs. And it would absorb from the skin. So yeah, the natural, as far as it detoxifying and bringing and pulling out impurities, it's gonna give you that same effect as with all the other lighteners that we have, probably in maybe a shorter amount of time. In my experience with the charcoal lighteners, it does operate at a little bit of faster rate. Or maybe it's because it's pulled so many impurities out that you didn't have to let it sit as long for the lightener itself or bleach or whatever you want to call it to actually eat up that melanin. It's actually pulling it out, in my experience anyway. But my favorite, I love it. I think it's awesome. I think that with all of the different techniques that we're doing now today, it's giving us another option. Now, hey, I'm old school. Give me a bowl of lightener or bowl of bleach, and you and I are of the same thought process, and 40 volume, and there isn't anything we can't do.
That whole 40 volume thing started because so many people were nervous to use it. It really started off as a gag. Like, it started off as a joke just to kind of show, like, there's nothing to be nervous about. It's fine. And it's just become like a staple freaking thing now. So it's so wild. It's so wild.
Right. And that's the other thing. And I'm glad you brought that up. As far as lighteners go, I when we teach and we deal with a lot of the younger stylists, from not in our generation, but not below our gen, but the next generation, they are so frightened of anything over 20 volume because they've had it pounded in their head. 20 volume is the standard for everything.
It's unfortunate the school books are not modernized. Like, the tests are standardized from state board. So the schools have no choice. They have to prepare the student to pass the state board test. And I'm not trying to make it political or anything like that, but it's unfortunate because that state board exam it still holds validity today. You need to know the information. But the way the information is presented prepares you for general knowledge, but it doesn't prepare you for what we're dealing with right now. Is that a fair way to say it?
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you. On that point. I also agree that we are. Let me add to that. We are given tools to use to create what we create, right? So with that being said, Why are you only going to limit yourself? Why are you not going to work smarter, not harder? Why are you going to leave? If you could lighten hair in 15 minutes and retain the integrity of the hair, why wouldn't you do that instead of letting that hair sit and soak in a chemical for up to 90 minutes? And I'm using 90 minutes. I know no one lets anything go 90 minutes, but I'm just using it as an example. But you know what I'm saying? And with what we're given now compared to when we started, okay? I think back to when we first started with, the basic whites and the Rue Speed Bleach.
Oh, yeah, sure.
And I remember the person that I trained with, back then you could still get 60 and sometimes 120 volume. Okay. And with that being said, and she would mix it up, but it was great because I would watch her mix and I would see her bring up the brush and bring up the brush and bring up the brush, because back then you didn't always have cream. They always didn't have cream developer. So they'd have to use liquid. And if you mixed liquid 1-to-1 in a light in a powder, what did you get? You got wallpaper paste.
You got. I was gonna say. Yeah, I was trying to remember spackle.
yeah, like the same consistency as like your grandma's oatmeal. I was like, So and that takes me to my next point, which is and yeah, I got to put my manufacturer hat on for a minute. Manufacturer's directions are there for a reason, kids. And sometimes we don't want to read them. Sometimes we don't. We know better. We all do it. We all do it. We all know better. But with some of these new lighteners that are coming out, you cannot mix them on a 1-to-1 basis. One part developer, one part. Yeah. Right. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I was playing with it. I was brought a sample of something. Hold on. I have to sneeze all of a sudden in the middle of my point. Anyway.
I love it when some people try to hold it in.
Yeah.
You get two, bless you once. If you sneeze more than that, you're on your own.
But anyway, and what did I do? I can eyeball it. I got this, and I eyeballed it, and literally, I could have, it was about the consistency of spackle. I could have filled holes in the walls with it, and then I read the directions, and then I added the proper amount, and the stuff mixed up beautifully and creamy, and it was awesome. So the manufacturer's directions are there for a reason. And yeah, we got to read a little bit, guys. I know we don't want to, because what do manufacturers know? They're $1 million R&D departments and things like that. They don't know better than we do.
They know how to make bad batches. I know that much. If I've learned anything from anybody, that's what I've learned, that they make bad batches.
I must have got a bad batch of lightener. Okay. Has nothing. And that's another point that we'll get to in a couple of minutes.
But I love throwing that at you. It's become our running joke. It's become our internal running joke because we deal with technical support. When people call, please, if you're calling for help, don't start the conversation with, I think I got a bad batch, your product sucks. Okay. It just sets the tone that the help you're going to receive, we trying to help you. Just understand, we sitting here minding our own business. We're not looking for you. You called us. You're looking for us. We're trying to help you. Okay. Let's discover what the hell happened first before we determine that the product is bad. Because 9 times out of 10, spoiler alert, I hate to tell you, that it's not the product. It's either the user or it's the situation. And 9 times out of 10, it's the situation that happened, which is correctable very easily. Only 1 time out of 10 is it the user. And when it's a really foobarred situation, then yeah, okay, it can happen. You could get a bad product. I'm not saying it can never happen. what I am saying is the likelihood of that happening is so far removed. It's so far and few between. Okay. Don't set the tone. If you're asking for help, set the tone to get help nice way. Don't get help through pulled teeth. You know.
I will
So
share
anyway,
this. I will share this story to go along with that. I've dealt with a bunch of different color lines. I've worked for a couple of manufacturers, and really working with Chuck at All Nutrient when he dragged me back into the lab in New Hampshire, and I actually spent a day in the lab with him. I never really understood what went into a tube of color, just a simple tube of color, and it could be any color line out there. Okay, these companies spend gajillions of dollars developing these. You know, it's not just some lunatic with a tube filling machine who's putting this, and this in there. You know, and I used to be the king of, oh, that color line doesn't work. It doesn't cover gray. Of course, it was never my fault. It was never anybody that I worked with's fault. It was the company. That color's awful. You know. And I always go back to, and then I walk into this lab with thinking I knew everything about hair color. I really did. I thought I knew, and I spent the day with Chuck from All Nutrient, and I realized that I absolutely I know nothing when it comes to hair color, and what goes into their R&D, and then the samples that are constantly being taken off the filling line to check for everything with the hair color. There's never, I'm going to give you a 98% chance that it's not a bad tube of color. Okay. Now, did you open that tube of color and leave it open all day and then just screw the cap back on and throw it back, and put it back up on the shelf and then that color oxidized? That's not the tube of color's fault. That's our fault. Operator malfunction most of the time. And really, with a lot of, when we deal with the phone call of people, a lot of times it is operator malfunction. Because what's your saying? Science is fun, but science is dumb.
It don't know what we want it to do. It only knows what we tell it to do.
Exactly.
But then I can counter you with the ultimate Uno reverse card.
Okay.
Shut up, nerd. What do you know? And that's what I've been dealing with online. I've been reading a lot of stuff, and there seems to be a kind of split. There's kind of like a split in the audience for and against charcoal. And I just don't understand. So I pulled a couple of things. I pulled a couple of topics. I'm gonna read them to you, and then let's kind of break it down a little bit, because I think it's interesting.
I love it.
Because on a couple of them, that's what helped me remember, because I haven't said that in a while. And I mean, they didn't say it exactly like that, but it was pretty much "shut up, nerd. What do you know?" Right? And just as you're saying what you were saying, it kind of reminded me of that. So the you real quick, one of the things was talking about timing, and you kind of mentioned timing earlier. What was you were saying that sometimes it can lift faster, and then some people were saying that just because it's lifting faster doesn't mean it's working faster or better. That's not a thing. Like time, the longer something sits, the better it works. The shorter something sits, you're sacrificing lift if you don't let it sit on long enough. And then people that reply, like that was the main comment. And then the replies, holy cow, were the replies all over the place.
Okay. Well,
so there's this obsession with timing.
Oh, sure. Time is time is money for all of us. It really is. But if you're doing a proper application, first off, and that's with any lightener, okay? Proper saturation of the hair. not just dragging your brush across the top of your foil, folding it up into, into your little Christmas present, or, like I've seen some people where it's like, okay, if you're doing a proper application, and then if you're checking and you're not just jamming them under a hooded dryer like the one behind me and forgetting about them for 35 minutes while you go out back and look at TikTok or try to jam food in your face, and you're monitoring it, if you've achieved in 15 minutes, and I'm using 15 minutes as a for instance, you're the level of lift and the tone you want, why is that bad?
So the level of lift that you want, is it really true lift, or are you just kind of seeing what you think is that lift? Because then the last thing I want to do is, when I get back to the shampoo bowl, is rinse them out, and then all of a sudden I find that it's brassy because I missed my target lift level.
Well, do you blot off just a little bit and take a look and see what it looks like?
No, I oversaturate everything, so it's swimming in it to make sure that it's really absorbing as good, or because if a little bit is good, how you say, more is gooder.
More is gooder. But once again, then you just proved my point that application is key. No matter what kind of lightener it is, no matter what kind of hair color it is, saturation application is key. I mean, if you're just dabbing your okay, I'm going to go sideways on you for just a minute with this. Okay, so you have a client who's 80% gray. Okay, she wants to be a level 6. Everybody wants to be a level 6. So when you go in to do that root touch up on her, are you just dabbing the color, or are you applying color and making sure that you're moving slightly over that line of demarcation and making sure there is enough product there to penetrate the hair shaft?
With a paint roller.
You're not going to get an argument from me. I mean, I use a caulk gun.
Yeah.
Okay. Because if I'm not going to cover it, I'm going to drown it.
Right.
Okay. I worked with a woman. I swear, she was a fantastic colorist, but literally to rinse off her colors, it was 5 minutes of just rinsing before you even shampooed.
That always blows my mind how much is used for an application. Like when I see people put 1.5 ounces to 2 ounces for a root touch-up application, that is mind-blowing to me. Even an ounce is mind-blowing to me, but I know that's the average. But anything over an ounce for a root touch-up application is, I just don't understand. Unless that's the color line, unless that's how it has to be. I don't know. I mean, maybe some manufacturers that's what they need it to be to do.
Which now I'm going to tie in your timing with the application. Okay. So when you mix for a highlight, you're going to do a full foil. Okay. Let's call it full foil. Do you do 1 scoop?
Yeah. No, not always, because it's kind of depends on the density of the client's hair. How much hair does that client have? And it also depends what mood I'm in that day. Do I feel like hustling and moving at a clip, or am I dragging that day and I'm just slow? Some days you're just not having it. Like some days you're just not feeling it, right? So if I'm feeling slow that day, then I'm going to start with a 1/2 scoop, because lightener is only as good as it stays wet. So you take your scoop of lightener, you add your developer, you start mixing it up, and you get that nice little creamy consistency that you get out of it. Okay, fine. Then you start applying it to the foils. Yeah, everything's great. The longer it sits, it's going to eventually dry out because it's been sitting there. Some of that moisture evaporates, some of that absorbs into the hair. Some of the melanin from the hair lifts up into the mix. Like everything is happening, work is happening. And a few minutes later, a few moments later, it starts drying out. And that's the whole thing. So with that said, your speed of your application, how much you're saturating each section, and what mixture ratio you're using, depending on which product you're using, all of that becomes a factor. And if I'm doing a full entire head application, and if I'm not in the mood that day, if I'm dragging for whatever reason, I don't even care. It happens. We're human. Yeah, then mix a half a scoop. It'll only be enough to do, the back. Then you mix another half scoop, and then you do the front, and you call it a day, and then you're nice and even. And then I can even take it further. I can use a lower volume developer for the back of the head because I know it's going to be sitting on longer, and I can use a higher volume developer for the top because I know it's going to not be on that long. And I think the argument that happens with developers with lighteners is that they think about hair color. Hair color and developer, that relationship is very different than the relationship with lightener and bleaches, or lightener or bleaches. The relationship with developer with powder is very, very different relationship. It's going to continue to work regardless of what developer strength you use. If you use a lower strength developer, it's just going to take, that process is going to take longer. If you use a higher developer, that process is going to take a shorter amount of time. It's going to get you to the same place. The amount of damage that's going to become incurred is equal. And you taught me this, and I forget the rate, the time. You say like a 20 volume powder mix for 30, 40 minutes is the equivalent damage of 40 volume with powder mix for 15, 20 minutes, but it's the same amount of lift.
Yes.
So it's the same amount of lift at the end of the day. So regardless of if it's sitting for however long it's sitting, just because it's on longer doesn't necessarily mean it's better. And just because it's sitting on shorter doesn't mean that's worse. It also doesn't mean that if you leave it on, like if you leave 10 volume on for an hour, it ain't going to snap the hair off. If you leave 40 volume on for an hour, yeah, you're probably asking for it.
You're making gum.
There's a difference in the relationship of time versus developer strength with what kind of powder you're using. And I'm just starting to say powder because I'm sick and tired of keep repeating bleach or lightener. There is a difference between the two. It's not some marketing crap. And I'm just saying powder because I don't want to sit there and go white, blue, charcoal, or clay or whatever other freaking cream, like all the different types. Well, I guess cream is different than powder, but I'm just saying powder because I just want to encompass as a generalization. I don't want to sit there and keep listing off everything over and over.
So let me ask you a question, since we kind of went sideways, and I love when we go sideways anyway. Where is it written that going back and mixing up more is bad?
Ain't nobody got time for that. You didn't even send you that video clip. I love that girl. I love that clip.
Why is that bad? It's bad. Oh, you got to go mix more up. You're ensuring a better process, because, like you said, to here, right? Then by the time you get to here, especially if you're moving slow, and we all, like you said, we all move slow from time to time. You're that powder lightener or powder whatever is not going to be as strong here as it was here.
Yeah.
So then what do people do? The people that have been told, oh no, mixing up more, bad. What do they do? What do they do to equalize that? They take that client and they, with those foils, and we're talking about foiling, and what do? They stick them under some heat. They find a heat source. They put them under a heat source, which then the heat does make the hair swell and the lightening does happen. but actually you're doubling down on beating the heck out of that hair too. Because yeah, if it's a virgin application, that's one thing. But if you're doing a highlight retouch, I guarantee you everybody is going over the line of demarcation a little bit to get that blend, right? So that section that you've now just put lightener on for maybe second, maybe third time, especially for our clients that want to know nothing about roots and they come in when they've got, this much root, and God bless them. You're not just dabbing. You're not, no, I watch everybody. So with that being said, why not, instead of blasting them under a heat source, why not go back, mix up a little more so you have it fresh, and you're going to get a better result than beating the crap out of the hair? Or am I completely off base with this?
It makes sense. I think when everybody is used to primarily using white and blue based lighteners. And this same exact argument when blue based powders were being introduced to the market, the same argument that I'm seeing right now about the charcoal is being introduced it's the same argument all over again. And I think it's not like charcoal is new. It's been around for a long, long time. It's just, I don't know, it wasn't the popular thing everybody was talking about as much anymore. So then everybody kind of forgot about it, or some people forgot about it. And then there was just a small, minority group of the population of hairdressers that were continuing to use it. But now it's starting to make a resurgence in social media and it's starting to get popular again, right? So because it's getting popular, now everybody's starting to, talk about it. And there's this adage of, if you know what you know, you don't know what you don't know. And if you've only been using white and blue base for 5, 10, 15, however many years you've been using it for, and now there's this new thing, and you're like, oh God, now I got to learn something all over again. Like, I don't got the headspace for that. So it's easier to dismiss it as crap or as nothingness. It's just a trend. Then it's easy, it's not as easy to embrace something and have to relearn what this is about and see if there's a place for it. Right. I think, unfortunately, that's what happens more often than not. I think that's the mindset of what happens. I love reading about new technology. Am I all going to use every single new technology? No, I'm not. Do I?
But be informed about it.
Don't, but I'd like to be informed about it. Yeah, sure. I'd like to know a little bit about it so I can make a conscious decision to say, yeah, okay, I can do this and I can get close enough, or yeah, no, I ain't going to do that. And it's just not for me. But at least I got an option. And then if I have a client sitting in the chair, this is another problem that I see a lot. Clients are on social media the same as we are. And sometimes the clients are on social media actively researching things more than we are, because we're in it doing it all day long. So we have a certain comfort with what we're doing. Whereas the clients, this is all new to them. So then they'll come in and be like, hey, I heard about this charcoal powder lightener. It's supposed to give me, 9 levels of lift. It's supposed to give me, a clean lift. It's supposed to give me, pure white hair, platinum hair. Like, I'm not going to have any brass. And you're like, yeah, no, that stuff is as seen on TV. Like it's an infomercial crap. That's like, we're just so dismissive.
Right.
Rather than sitting there. And here's the greatest problem. Your client is coming in all excited about something. And here's you kind of doing one of these things, like, get away, It's like when your kid comes running up to you and you're in the middle of talking to somebody and your kid comes up, oh, mommy, daddy, oh, look what I did. Look what I can do. You're like, Stuart, no, Stuart, and it's just, then we wonder why the kids go mental. It's, you're just being so dismissive. You kind of crush their enthusiasms. And that's what happens to the client. So I don't know. Does charcoal lift 9 levels?
Oh, you're asking me?
Yeah, like is
Here's
it
my,
really designed to lift up to 9 levels of lift?
here's my answer to that is, and it's the classic answer that we forget about as we stand behind the chair every day, is it all depends on what? Texture, density, and
Porosity.
porosity of the hair.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, if you take these nine level lightener powders, we'll call them powders, 9 level powders, and you put them on jet black Asian hair, do you think you're going to get 9 levels?
If it sits on long enough and you can retain the moisture in the mixture, if you've got the time, the patient, and you're going to put in the effort to do it, yeah, you could get 9 levels of lift. But if you're just expecting to mix a scoop of powder and put in some developer, whatever, an equal ratio or a 1-to-2 ratio or whatever the ratio is, and you're just going to leave it on for 30 minutes, no, that ain't going to happen in 30 minutes.
Right. Right.
30 minutes is a convenient timing for our book. 30 minutes is not a universal timing. I don't know who made that up. Well, I know who made that up. We did not make that up. That is just convenient for us. That's what that is. But it created this expectation that if it does not work within that short time frame, then you suck.
Doesn't work. It doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
Doesn't work.
It's a problem.
Doesn't work. And you and you've done and I see it. I see it all the time, and guilty sometimes too. And all of us were not doing perfect applications either. Let's be honest. That's why we started. It makes me laugh. With the root with toners. Toners. I had a new client, and I did a highlight on her, and shampooed her. Got her all set. And she goes, "Well, wait. My old stylist used to do a toner."
Yep.
And I went, "Well, I lifted you up to where you wanted to be. We've got the right color. So why would I put a toner on you?" And it's the same thing. It's all about application. It's all about timing. But the cool part is, as stylists, and this goes back because colored powders have been around for a really long time.
Sure.
There was, Kaleidocolors. Remember those back in the day, where they had the brown, they had the blue. There was a bunch of yellow.
Yeah.
Farouk and Sunglitz.
Sunglitz. Oh yeah.
Sunglitz. I mean, the colored powders have been around for a long time. But the coolest thing is and we could sit here and harp on application and all of that. But the coolest thing is we have all these tools that we can use to make our job actually easier.
Well, that's really what you're talking about, because like when you were saying that example of the 9 levels of lift, and if that was realistic, look, what are you trying to accomplish? Like you just said, because not everything is always going to be blonde. If you're trying to specifically make blonde, then a blue-based or a charcoal-based, yeah, sure, I'm all for it. If you use a white, could you also make blonde? Yeah, you could use a white powder and still make blonde hair. It's going to be a little more work, but why? A white-based powder is not designed to neutralize any contributing pigment, any tonal value that's in the hair. It's just going to raise the level of lift. It's going to decolor the hair. It's going to lighten it up. And whatever you're left with is whatever you're left with. And in some cases, you want that because it depends what your end result is going to be. In a blonde, maybe you want to be a golden blonde or a honey blonde or whatever is trending right now. Then you want to use a white powder. If you're trying to do a redhead, if you're trying to do like plum right now for going into this season, everybody wants some version of magenta, plum, eggplant, violet, red, blue, like whatever base, warm, then definitely you want to use a white. You want to throw that contributing pigment as much as possible because that's your anchor point. So then you put your color over that, your target shade over that, locks on, no problem.
Boom.
You definitely want that. I don't know, maybe you're trying to do a base bump and you want it to be slightly warmer, then the white one's fine, Now, if you need a little more control, then the blue one works. That's literally its whole purpose in life, is to give you more control. Not a problem. The charcoals, I don't know. Maybe there's a lot of buildup in that hair that you're trying to break through as you're lightening and lifting. Maybe there's a lot of color buildup on there from before.
Right.
The client likes to change a lot. I don't know. Maybe you're trying to do a platinum blonde. Maybe you are trying to do an extreme lift. I don't know what your situation is. It's going to be dependent on each one of your clients and each one of your target shades that you're trying to lighten to. Like you're saying, we have all this technology. We have all this amazing, beautiful technology. Why are you poo-pooing on half of it and just segregating yourself to only use the one thing that you're familiar with? Why not try to stay open-minded? It's not just for the client's sake, it's for your own sake. You tell me all the time, it's like, oh, if you could do something soon, faster, wouldn't you want to? Isn't time money? If you could do something more efficiently, wouldn't you want to? If you could work smarter, not harder, wouldn't you want to?
Right. I agree.
I could tell you yes, but the next person, they're going to tell you, no, I don't know.
Right.
But wouldn't you want to, at least at a minimum, have options available so you can make a choice?
Right.
For your own sake. Like I'm saying, forget the client for a second, just for your own sake. Wouldn't you want to make a choice rather than being stuck with an how's that called? Ultimatum. It's this or nothing. You know me, I can't deal with ultimatums. I'll always choose the one that's going to screw me over because that's how mentally defiant I am when it comes to ultimatums. I can't. I don't have the headspace for that.
Yeah, I'm guilty as charged, and that statement takes me back to back in the day. I worked for someone, and they were a signature this color line salon, and they only used this lightener.
Okay.
Now the color line they used had multiple lighteners, but they only used this one lightener because that's where the owner was comfortable, and it was a big problem that we had, and I wasn't there very long, but my point being is, and I'll go back to originally, is how cool is it that we've got all this stuff that we get to play with. I'm a kid, okay? We get to play with this stuff. We get to play, and we get to be educated, and 35 plus years in this business now, and I'm still learning new crap every week. That's awesome. That is awesome. And and to bring the client into this, at least to be informed about what they're gonna be coming and asking us about. We could probably talk for another 2 hours on this subject. Especially lighteners, because everybody has what they like. But why not learn about what else is out there? So when they come with their screenshot from TikTok or wherever, you can go, oh yeah, I know that lightener. But you know what? We can achieve this with this. It doesn't matter what your reasoning is, but at least you can speak to your client about it and not poo-poo it away and make them feel like an idiot. And that's just gonna endear you more to that client. And oh yeah, Eddie told Eddie and I talked about this lightener. He told me all about it, and look, we got the same. I got the same result with what he did. You know what I'm saying? Or am I being too general?
No, I'm with you. You as you're saying that, you kind of make me thinking like I want to play a speed round with you.
Okay, let's do it.
I'm just making this up on the fly. This probably is going to end terribly.
We got 10 minutes, so.
White. Okay, so here's your three choices: white, blue, or charcoal.
Okay.
I'm going to throw out scenarios,
Okay.
and you say the first one that you think you would go to.
Okay.
Redhead.
White lightning.
A brown on brown, multidimensional.
That's tough. I'm going to go white lightner 10 volume.
Let's say a honey blonde.
Blue lightner.
Let's say neutral blonde.
I'm going to go with charcoal.
What if, okay, the ever popular platinum blonde?
See, you can't say that because I would go either. My first instinct is blue lightner, but you can also use charcoal too because you're getting a lot of that brassiness out too.
You get one. This is speed round.
Oh, I get one. I'm going to go blue lightner because it's what I know. There, see.
Oh, I would go charcoal.
Okay.
What about color correction?
What are we correcting? You can't just say color correction.
Yes.
You can't just say color correction.
Correcting brassiness.
Huh?
Correcting brassiness.
I'm going to go charcoal.
Gold.
Blue lightner.
Red.
They don't make green lighteners.
They do actually make it. Oh, do they still? Man, that was back in the day, talking about the kaleidoscopes back in the day.
Kaleidocolors. Yeah, no, they don't. I think there's 2 colors left with Kaleidocolor. Red's how
correcting red. If you got to correct red, what do you got to do? If you have to soap cap, bleach wash, pre-lighten, or try to do something because you got to tone over it, and you need to, you're in a situation where you have to strip some red, you have to use a lightener. White, blue, or charcoal?
Blue.
Level 1. Going blonde.
I'm going to start with the charcoal lightener, and then in her next four appointments with me, we'll gradually move it up. But you got to get as much of that.
Or you're going to move to blue and then white or something.
Probably a charcoal, then move to blue.
Your charcoal move to blue. You don't just keep her in charcoal.
I don't know. You know, that's a tough. Yeah, you know what? We'll stay with. Oh, you're right. I'll stay with charcoal.
I told you this is either gonna. It makes you think. Like if
you're giving me for instances. All right, going from a level 1 or a level 2 to blonde. You know, that's not happening in one shot. I don't care what TikTok says.
Doesn't matter.
You know. Yeah. So I would probably use the charcoal lightener on her.
All right, more realistic. You're level 1 through 5. You're 5 and below. Now, you know, pre-lightened or pre-colored rather, and you just want to lift them up to like a level 6, 7.
What kind of warmth?
Yes.
Okay.
What kind of warmth? We'll run the gambit on the warmth. Ashy.
Charcoal.
Neutral.
Blue.
Warm.
White.
So we have solved absolutely nothing. Charcoal does work better or it doesn't work better?
I think it's going to be. See, I'm going to go back to my initial statement with you when we first plotted this whole thing out. There is a tool. You have a tool for every job. If you're a mechanic and you bring your car to your mechanic and he's got that giant toolbox, right? He uses the right tool for the right job. He just doesn't have a pair of pliers and go digging at your car, does he?
I don't know. I'm convinced he just has different types of mallets in there. from soft
Plus,
to hard. And
like you said, your uncle, used to clean stuff off with gasoline while you guys were working on the car. All right. We'll go back to that. But the point is I see, and this is what I love about this business. There is no right answer. There isn't no right lightener. We have the tools. We have the things that we can use to create whatever we want, as long as we stay inside the boundaries that are given to us by the manufacturers. So yeah, yes.
The whole thing that started today's topic, like the whole thing that got me thinking about today's topic, I was at the salon and, I've brought the charcoal in and I'm playing with it and the stylists, they're going, why do we need this? You already have white and blue. Why do you need charcoal? Like, now we're going to have 3. Why was it okay to have 2?
Right.
When we had just basic white back in the day, when we bought the blue one in, it was the same. You started whining the same way you're whining now. But why did you accept the blue? Well, for, this client, Mrs. So-and-so, it works better. Okay. And so now I have this charcoal because for Mrs. So-and-so, it's going to work better for her. Like, oh, okay. We don't have the space for that. You're going to put it down on the, off to the side so we don't see it. It's like, yeah, the new kid doesn't get shelf space, doesn't get prime shelf space, right? Last Saturday when I was in, and not only was it up on the shelf with everything else, the lid was off. I had to go find the lid because somebody obviously was using it.
Oh, that would make me go insane. That you know me, I would be goose stepping all over the salon. Who left the lid off?
I understand, but the victory is
they used it.
It was off in the side, and they had to go. It wasn't within arm's reach. They had to go digging for it and looking for it to get it.
Right. Right.
So,
but that proves the point that we made early on is that we have a different. There is no right or wrong. There really isn't. No. It's how you want to attack it, and attacking it smartly. And
my favorite word when it comes to hair color, it's situational.
It's situational. Thank you for finding the word for me, because I went blank. It's a situational thing, and the fact that we have extra tools at our hands, it's awesome. It's awesome. Yeah. The days of just mixing up one bowl of bleach and using it all day are long over, kids.
Oh man, that's a whole nother story for another day, man. Holy cow.
Right.
I do want to make an announcement though.
What's that?
Next week starts the month. Well, tomorrow starts the month of October. So next week will be the first week of October.
Right.
And October, for a lot of you know this, and for some of you who don't know, it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So next week's episode is going to be dedicated to breast cancer awareness. And we hope you spread the word. I hope you all can let people know, tune in and listen to us. We're going to be talking about breast cancer. We're going to be talking about different ways of fundraising and building charities. Well, not building, supporting charities. And we're going to be talking about different ways you can support your clients behind the chair. So next week's episode in particular is going to be a heartfelt one. That's going to be a heavy topic. So definitely, join us for that one and help support the cause, because it's not just for old people anymore. It's for everybody. It doesn't matter how old you are. Cancer nails everybody.
It does. And especially, it's a little close and personal for all of us with the HTB family. Any and all support is greatly appreciated by everybody in our industry. We'll give you a bunch of different places to go to help. And we have some things going on at htbbeauty.com too, if you want to go there. the Hair to Hope, and all of that. But we're going to get into that next week. Guys, if you like what we do, please visit us on htbbeauty.com. We appreciate all feedback, even the people that make fun of me being bald.
You did get that.
And all you guys that have been with us from the beginning and are joining us now, we all appreciate you, and we really, really, really want you to make a difference, one client at a time. And we'll catch you guys next week.
Yep, make a difference, one client at a time, baby.
The SFTB podcast was not recorded in front of a live studio audience, so thanks for joining us for today's episode. If our hair topics made you smile, give us a thumbs up. Drop your thoughts in the comments. We'll read them while waiting for our caller to process. Share this video with your stylists and friends. It helps us make a difference, one strand at a time. And don't forget to subscribe and ring that notification bell so you never miss an episode. Because your hair deserves all the latest and greatest tips.